For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs that flow out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, and lands of olives and honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, out of whose hills you can dig copper. When you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which he's given you. But beware, be warned, that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, his statutes, which I command you today. Lest when you have eaten and are full, and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold is multiplied, that you have multiplied, when your heart is lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, and led you through the great terrible wilderness, where there are fiery serpents and scorpions, and thirsty land, where there was no water, and he brought water out of a flint of rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, that he might humble you, that he might test you to do good in the end. Then you will say in your heart, my power and might and my hand has gained this wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. It shall be that if by any means you forget the Lord your God and follow other gods and serve them and worship them, I will testify against you this day. So this is a type of the new birth. When we look at them coming out of the land of Egypt, it's a type of the new birth. We got delivered from bondage and we're out into the land. It's the blessing of the Holy Spirit in our dispensation. But here's the thing he's making a point of. He's making a point that when you've earned and you're satisfied, don't think you did it, right? And here's the problem. People that have wealth, right, a lot of them, it's second generation or third generation, and it's a part of their being, right? When Jesus approached the rich young ruler in Mark 10, right, what did he say? Sell all that you have, pick up your cross, and follow me. He said, there's something you lack. What did he lack? Loving the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your soul, all of your strength, right? So what he was telling them is, do you identify with your wealth or do you identify with me? Make a decision, And so he couldn't make that decision. He couldn't rise to that level of commitment, and that's why his apostles were amazed. They were greatly amazed. They were amazed and afraid. And that's why Jesus told them, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to be arrested, turned over to the Gentiles, scourged, beaten, spit on, crucified, killed, and this is what I want you to do for me. That's my level of commitment, and this is the level of commitment I want. Don't be afraid. This is the level of commitment I want from you. And he was teaching in that chapter. I think it's one of the most important chapters for today in the Bible is Mark chapter 10, is looking at the rich young ruler, because it really speaks anyone in the West, right? Anyone in a democracy, anyone that has lots of freedom and lots of money, right? And so, when he said that, and if you take that along with what what Jesus said in John 17, that we'd be one, right? What does it do? It tells us that we should have all things in common. It's not that what I have and what you have, are what I have is yours and what you have is mine. It's what we have is ours, right? And so, and when you look at and study out the spirit of mammon, that opulence, our society today doesn't live biblically. It really doesn't. I mean, in the Bible, you woke up every day and you worked every day and you lived every day for God. Everybody in the Bible. Today, we live and work for comfort. It's, it's that second home. There's nothing wrong with a second home, but it's what's in your heart. What has God called you to do? And so we need to get to that place where we understand that God is our provider. He brings that wealth into our life so that we can touch other lives. I go over to Genesis 14. I like what Abraham did. Let's start in verse 14. It says, "Now when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided the forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is in the north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods and also brought back his brother Lot and all his goods, as well as the women and the people. The king of Sodom came out to meet him at the valley of Shav in the king's valley, after his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought bread and wine, and he was a priest of the Most High God. He blessed him and said, 'Blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God of the Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hands.' And he, Abraham, gave him a tithe of all. Now the king of Sodom said to Abram, 'Give me the persons, and you take the goods for yourself.' Abram said to the king of Sodom, 'I have raised my hand to God.'" In other words, I made a relationship with God, "to the Lord my God, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread of a sandal," not a shoelace, "from you, that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you say, I have made Abram rich." What's he saying? He's saying, I don't want anything from you. God's my provider. I don't want anybody to say, you help me, right? He's turning down the wealth. He's saying, I want God to provide for me. And a lot of times you see sort of like Abishai with the spear to strike Saul one time to end his life. And David said, I won't come against the Lord's anointed. I won't take out this guy because it's God's job to do it. That discernment is something we need, because a great opportunity could not be a God opportunity. And so we need to understand, Abraham was very wealthy, and in his pursuit, he tithed. This is the first time we see the tithe right here. And it's before the law, it's in promise. And so we see that Abraham wanted to trust God. He didn't want anybody to say that the money came from others.